Welcome to our video. In the context of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, a prominent subject in discussions and media coverage is the United States' hesitance to engage directly and the implications of Putin's nuclear threats. In our previous video, we examined the limitations of nuclear deterrence. However, a crucial question remains unaddressed. Do these weapons function as intended? While many may harbor doubts, a significant number still believe they can be activated at any moment. Today, we will explore this topic further. We will begin with the essential challenges that all nations face in the maintenance of nuclear arsenals, followed by an analysis of three specific difficulties that Russia may encounter: the management of technical issues, corruption and bribery within the military, and the broader strategic dilemma of permitting the deterioration of nuclear capabilities amid political conflicts. To begin, it is important to understand the fundamental requirement for nuclear weapons maintenance. Russia is currently the world's largest nuclear power, possessing nearly 5,600 warheads. Approximately 1,700 are ready for deployment, 2,700 are in storage for rapid preparation, and 1,200 are being decommissioned but may be refurbished. Russia's arsenal is categorized into two types: large strategic warheads designed to target urban areas, and roughly 1,000 tactical nuclear weapons intended for battlefield engagement. The inherent challenge for any nuclear-capable state lies in the complexity of these weapons, which cannot simply be manufactured and left to remain functional for decades. Nuclear weapons consist of thousands of components, many of which are crucial for the detonation sequence. A malfunction in any one component can prevent the intended explosive outcome. For instance, consider a typical detonation mechanism involving a plutonium core. This core does not detonate spontaneously. Rather, it must achieve sufficient density to facilitate neutron interactions with the fissile plutonium atoms. This is accomplished through a casing lined with conventional explosives that surround the core. Upon activation, the explosives detonate simultaneously, compressing the core and resulting in an immense detonation. However, if any aspect of the process is miscalibrated, the core may flatten, increasing its surface area in relation to its volume and negating the desired effect. Consequently, neutrons may escape instead of colliding with the plutonium, significantly undermining the weapon's efficacy. This represents a notable vulnerability for Russia. Analysts indicate that Moscow's manufacturing capabilities have struggled to produce plutonium cores. In principle, this deficiency should not compromise the entire weapon's operating system. However, these cores must be replaced every 10 to 15 years, implying that each nuclear weapon in Russia's arsenal has likely undergone 2 or 3 refurbishment procedures since the Soviet Union's dissolution. The situation becomes more intricate when considering the need for an additional hydrogen core within the plutonium to ensure effective weapon functionality. Hydrogen, comprised of the isotopes deuterium and tritium, presents unique challenges. Deuterium contains 2 nucleons, while tritium contains 3, with both isotopes having 1 electron. Typically, deuterium and tritium are not compatible. Yet, under extreme temperatures, such as those generated in a nuclear explosion, they fuse to form helium, which consists of 2 protons, 2 neutrons, and 2 electrons. The presence of an extra neutron is critical. The chain reaction is facilitated as the compressed core enhances the likelihood of a neutron colliding with a plutonium atom, leading to fission. The reaction between deuterium and tritium streamlines the process by directly releasing a substantial number of neutrons into the target area. This mechanism enhances the weapon's yield, enabling a more compact design while maintaining the requisite explosive power. An added complication lies in tritium's half-life of approximately 12.5 years, necessitating replacement every 5 to 10 years for optimal bomb functionality. Consequently, Russia is likely required to conduct at least 3 replacements, providing only a rough estimate. Moving forward, we must consider the underlying reasons that may render Russia's nuclear arsenal non-operational, particularly in relation to the maintenance of nuclear warheads. This concern can be segmented into financial and technical constraints. Financially, there is a common misconception that the majority of nuclear weapon costs are incurred during the development phase. This assumption is misleading. For instance, while reliable estimates for Russia are unavailable, the Manhattan Project in the United States incurred costs of $51 billion, whereas by 1996, the US had expended $821 billion on maintaining the operational capacity of its nuclear defense system. This financial requirement is partly attributable to the initial expansion of the arsenal. However, a significant portion of the expenditure has been allocated to refurbishing warheads and ensuring they remain in optimal condition. To illustrate the financial implications, tritium is priced at approximately $30,000 per gram, with an average weapon requiring over 3 grams. Consequently, every decade, Russia would need to allocate around $100,000 per nuclear weapon for tritium alone. It is vital to recognize that nuclear weapons consist of thousands of components. Although tritium represents the most expensive maintenance component relative to others, the cumulative costs over time can be substantial. The financial aspect is one dimension, the other pertains to technical capability. Concerns often arise from the decline of the Russian education system following the collapse of the Soviet Union. The individuals who were in their 30s during that time were the last cohort in the Soviet Union to receive advanced degrees. Now in their 60s, their impending retirement further complicates the financial stability of Russia's pension program. Regarding capability, if one assumes that the knowledge possessed by this demographic has not been effectively transmitted to subsequent generations, the integrity of Russia's nuclear program may be compromised. Moreover, the fact that Russia has not conducted a nuclear weapon test since 1990 during the Soviet era raises additional questions about its current technical capabilities. Nonetheless, there are compelling arguments suggesting that capability may not be the primary issue. One can assess Moscow's overall nuclear capabilities through the operation of its nuclear power plants. Russia operates numerous plants, most of which remain functional. While some may require maintenance and certain facilities are situated near conflict zones, it is evident that Russia possesses a nuclear reactor capable of producing tritium. Even in the absence of new production, the Soviet legacy left Russia with approximately 30,000 nuclear weapons. Tritium has undergone 3 half-lives since then, and it is feasible to extract and purify tritium from decommissioned weapons for reuse. There remains a sufficient supply to sustain a significant portion of Russia's current arsenal. However, this does not assure the maintenance of all other technical components. In reality, intelligence regarding developments within Russia is not flawless. Nonetheless, there is a substantial amount of tritium available in the country. A knowledge gap exists within the Kremlin's institutions, which is a phenomenon observed globally. Importantly, tritium is not a requisite for a nuclear weapon's existence. It merely enhances the weapon's efficiency. On the financial front, the federal budget has indeed experienced cost-cutting measures, particularly during the transitional period preceding the energy export surge. However, during this time, Russia prioritized the maintenance of its nuclear arsenal. Consequently, these warheads are arguably in better condition compared to the rest of the military. Additionally, while maintenance costs may appear substantial, they remain within the Kremlin's financial capacity. The assumption is that all funds allocated for maintenance are actually utilized. This brings us to a significant concern: corruption within the Russian leadership. This issue is quite serious. A contributing factor to Moscow's struggles in the war is the corruption permeating the military. The Kremlin initially anticipated an easy invasion, expecting Russian forces to swiftly overpower the Ukrainian army. However, logistical instability, internal political conflicts, and increasing defense budgets have exacerbated years of graft, impairing the Russian government's capacity to sustain and enhance its military efforts. Should this corruption extend to nuclear agencies, Russia may find it challenging to escalate the conflict to enforce its red line threat. even if desired. A related concern is Russia's deployment system. Nuclear weapons, while capable of detonation, are ineffective if they fail to reach adversary territory. The US Department of Defense has noted that early in the conflict, various Russian missile systems exhibited failure rates ranging from 20 to 60%. This is particularly alarming for ballistic missiles equipped with nuclear warheads. However, this potential should not provide undue reassurance to Western nations. Nuclear weapons are not as severely affected by corruption as other branches of the Russian military. This became evident to the Kremlin over 2 years ago, prompting the government to undertake measures for improvement. Corruption may still infiltrate the nuclear supply chain. However, it is comparatively easier to detect, as all components and processes can be verified prior to deployment. Consequently, the aforementioned 20 to 60% missile failure rate cannot be directly applied to nuclear weapons. Assuming, for argument's sake, that corruption is profoundly severe and only 1/5 of Russia's nuclear arsenal is operational, the consequences of a single detonation in Berlin would still be catastrophic. If one weapon detonates in Rome, while 4 are non-functional, the repercussions remain dire. Stakeholders are more concerned with actual events than potential outcomes. In comparison, this situation resembles playing Russian roulette, an activity prudent individuals would typically avoid. Even if 90% of Russia's 5,580 nuclear weapons are inoperative, the remaining arsenal exceeds the entirety of China's stockpile. This is why both Russia and the United States maintain extensive arsenals. Redundancy serves as a form of insurance. An advantage for the West lies in the fact that any attempt by Putin to eliminate the entire US arsenal in a first strike would require precision and assuredness in the functionality of each weapon. However, that is not the primary concern at this stage. Let us now discuss strategic degradation. It is a rational choice not to maintain nuclear weapons in optimal condition. The challenge resides in verification. It is difficult to ascertain whether an adversary is preserving their arsenal, which necessitates careful calculations in diplomatic engagements. Consider a scenario where a nuclear power is committed to the upkeep of its weaponry. In negotiating political resolutions, agreements must align with the prevailing military power balance. Nuclear weapons confer a portion of that military power. If it is widely recognized that a state is serious about maintaining its arsenal, perceptions of weakness diminish, leading to the understanding that a military campaign could yield benefits for the state. However, a military advisor may observe that, while others believe in the maintenance of an arsenal, verification is lacking. It remains a matter of perception. Furthermore, sustaining an arsenal incurs significant costs. The advisor might recommend discontinuation of maintenance expenditures, a suggestion that arises during a particularly pressing time when conventional military operations are straining the defense budget. Of course, such reductions would remain undisclosed, thereby creating an advantageous position, the ability to wield nuclear threats without incurring maintenance expenses. Conversely, a discerning advisor within the opposing state may recognize that nuclear powers share similar incentives to issue threats. This uncertainty means neither side can be assured of facing a rival with functional nuclear capabilities, which presents a dilemma. Fortunately, crisis management experts have analyzed this situation extensively. While it is true that nuclear powers should sometimes prioritize deterrence, excessive reliance on threats may render them ineffective. Meanwhile, the opposing state might respond to perceived threats by adhering resolutely to its demands, treating the opponent as if it lacks nuclear capabilities. Such dynamics can lead to conflict when the nuclear power does, in fact, maintain its arsenal. Moreover, increasing maintenance costs heighten the likelihood of war. The reasoning is straightforward. As the costs for nuclear powers to sustain their defenses rise, the impetus to rely on deterrence grows stronger, prompting the opposing state to take more assertive actions in response to these threats. On a more positive note, remarkably high costs may ultimately mitigate the issue. When the expenses surpass the benefits conferred by additional military power, it is well established that a nuclear power may abandon its program entirely. Even if maintaining the arsenal offers a significant advantage in military balance, the prohibitive costs of maintenance and refurbishment can outweigh those benefits. Consequently, opponents may infer the cessation of the weapons program and adjust their demands to mitigate the risk of catastrophic conflict. In the event of a conflict, it does not necessarily imply an immediate escalation to nuclear war. Such circumstances may compel Russia to test tactical nuclear weapons to address suspicions from Washington. The evident hesitation of the United States is noteworthy. Intelligence analysts possessing more comprehensive information assess that Russia possesses the capability. Alternatively, it is possible that the White House exercises a high degree of risk aversion. Regardless of the reason, we are currently not on a trajectory toward destruction. We invite your thoughts on Russia's ability to sustain its nuclear weapons system in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next segment.